What's up, everybody? Ooh, welcome to the Alex Olinger podcast. It's 1:03 p.m. Sunday before Memorial Day, and we're here and we're doing it. And let's just get into it. Last night, I'm doing this outside, by the way, just because, sometimes you need to be outside and you need to feel the air on your face. I drank quite a bit of beer last night, and it's the temperature of a sauna in the Texas heat. It's really bad, and it sucks, and I hate it. But a good thing is I'm sweating it out a little bit, and I hope that the car noise from the road that's honestly out where I am, it's really loud, and I hope where you are it's not too bad, and that you can actually hear my voice, because I'm not recording another one of these, and I'm not going to do any editing to this really, besides maybe like a little bit of compression in the vocals. I'm not doing that for you. I don't want to. And I don't feel like editing this too much because I want to keep it organic. Even if the organicness somehow comes out a little rough around the edges, I'd rather have it be organic. I like things that are like that. I like things that are more natural. I like women with a little bit of stretch marks. You know what I mean? Maybe some imperfections in their teeth. You know what I'm talking about. Just something a little off with their face. I like that in a lady. Just something, you look at their face and you're like, something's a little wrong here. Like it looks, 90% of this rocks, but something happened to your face at a certain point. That's what I like, I like a lopsided titty, coming in at a little weird angle. I like things with a little bit of character, I want your vagina lips to look like a used comforter, like an unmade bed. That's what I want to really get up in there. You don't want everything to be perfect in your life. It's weird and it's sterile. It's vapid. It sucks. A lot of the people who obsess about superficial perfections in that way are highly neurotic, diseased, and troubled individuals deep down, and they will ruin your life. I don't know if they'll ruin your life, but they are weird to look into their eyes, and you realize that's as far as their soul goes. It's just that eye contact they made with you, if anything. I like a little bit of human nature to the things I'm doing. Do I like that it's already like 98 degrees outside and I'm podcasting for some reason? It's in the shade, so it'll be about 80-something in the shade. But I got to go to the laundromat today, and I'm really avoiding that. I don't really like the laundromat. I like it when there's not a lot of people, but man, every Sunday, it's everybody's laundry day. Everybody's on a schedule around here. It's the plight of the broke Latino man, the immigrants. Everybody's day off for laundry is Sunday, so you got to go down there and got to do laundry together. And everybody's bringing their kids, and those kids are, for some reason, they just got to run and scream, everywhere. Some reason they got to. What was like the coolest things? Top 5 coolest things when you were a kid. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about something a little bit more upbeat and positive, because I really ate my fucking cock and balls doing stand-up this week. It just I wasn't on, and then, sometimes you're not on, but the crowd really likes you, so they'll carry it for you a little bit. Sometimes you're not on, and also the crowd has decided they don't like your face. They don't like anything about you almost immediately, and then you die a slow and painful death. What's great about that is really eating shit like that, dying slowly, and not having any connection or rapport with the audience And you could be doing comedy 15 years, you die like that. You feel like you've never done it one day in your life. That's one of those things that can happen to you. That can happen to you, and you'll be doing that, and occasionally you'll do it on a show where everybody else crushes. You're like, so clearly I don't know what's going on. Clearly I'm bad at this and should have gotten to like AI programming or something, so I can make a bunch of money while I destroy the economy and the human race. All right, hold on. Taking a sip of this yerba mate. If there's one company I'd love to be sponsored by, it's yerba mate. They really are the best. This really is picking me up from a 1 out of 10 energy level to a 3 right now. Really doing it. We're doing it. All right, top 5. Let's talk about top 5 things when you were a kid. I'm going to put in the top 5 those little vending machines that you put quarters into. You put quarters into them, and then you can, like, what do they have in them? Dude, my brain is not working. They have, like, the sticky hands, fake tattoos, occasionally some gumballs. The gumball machines were gnarly because they did not refill those gumball machines for like the last decade and a half. If you bought a gumball in 1996 or 98, that thing had been in there since 1975, sitting in that Mexican restaurant, its lobby, and that gumball, I mean, if you put that in somebody's drink, it might kill them. Talk about tainting the water supplies, all those extra gumballs. In Chicago, when they changed the river to green for St. Patrick's Day, instead of investing into the school system or trying to help anybody whatsoever, they just dye the water green. That was done with gumballs. I'm riffing, dude. I'm riffing. I'm riffing so hard on this one. I like that when you were a kid. I like those little guys, those little things. I like the sticky hands a lot. The tattoos were always kind of what you'd imagine tattoos on a gangbanging whore would wear. They were never like artistic tattoos. They were always like flaming skulls, a Harley Davidson, semi-white supremacist tattoos that you could put on your kid for 2 weeks. What? You got to get them wet, stick it on there. Now your kid looks like a small cholo. Small cholo. Bring him into work. They're like, this kid's a bad dude. This kid's real bad, ain't it? All right, yeah, top 5 things. I've named 1, the vending machine. Another thing was, what was it? PBS is a top kid thing. The fact that they did defund it, I think is, like, and this is what they'll always say when they defund something, they'll be like, somebody else will pick it up. Somebody else will figure it out, They never say that with the military spending budget or cutting your taxes. Or cutting taxes, giving tax breaks to people that already have $8 billion in revenue coming in to work with. They can cut those people can't manage. What can manage is a public broadcast television network for small children to not feel as lonely while their parents argue with each other or getting a divorce. What I think this country needs, and that's what they say, what this country needs to really function properly is we need to take away things for small children that don't have a lot going on. That's really where we need to really round the corners off on this whole thing. People who have shit, people like Elon Musk who have 14 illegitimate children and a bunch of wives they don't want, and a bunch of money they don't seem to be able to use or want to use in the slightest for anything except to make themselves more money. I think they need some help. And that, to me, that's just, I don't know. Let's be serious here. I'm kind of in the middle of being serious and not serious about this. But let's make an actual point. It's sick. It really is. I feel like it's legitimately gross to do that. I don't know why anybody... You know, it's PBS isn't spoiling kids. It's not a waste of money to provide something and offer something fun and nice for children who are in a bad situation. I honestly feel like if you have money, what else are you doing with your money besides helping people out? That's what I would like to do. If I had a lot of money, I'd like to help people out. And they can still have money for themselves, man. They have a ton of money. Why do you have to fuck with PBS? I guess it's because they thought Elmo was woke. That's the thing about conservatives now, is like a lot of it is just 60-year-old men who wear suits getting mad at puppets and gay candy. And then that you want to use the government to get it out of everybody else's lives. And I don't know, man, maybe some people like gay candy. Maybe some people like liberal puppets. You ever think about that? Am I not allowed under your regime to watch Elmo tell me that black people should be able to live in the same neighborhood as me? You know, maybe Elmo doesn't want you to beat the shit out of trans people. Is that so much to ask? Also, for the pull your self up by the bootstraps crowd, they really, really, really don't want to have to do that when it comes to changing the fucking channel on a television or just not watching a certain movie. Oh. Sirens, baby. Somebody's dying. Somebody got in a car wreck. I mean, really, all you have to do nowadays to really, like, get rid of something and not have a public backlash is just convince everybody that it's woke. And since there's no definition to really what woke is, you can kind of just label it that for like a year-ish and just make a bunch of YouTube shorts that have no factual basis and just hammer the internet with that until people decide that, like, oh, yeah, we want to get rid of this thing, even though it was not that expensive in the grand scheme of things and really didn't do anything except entertain some children on the weekends, man. All right. Okay. All right, buddy. You know, if you want to fucking rant on your podcast about political stuff, that's fine. But I'm getting kind of tired. That's what people say now. I'm getting kind of tired of people talking about political things. It's exhausting. And I'd rather if you just didn't on your podcast that I don't have to listen to. I'd rather if you just didn't talk about it, you know. 4 years ago, when Satan was running the country and we were 5 minutes away from turning into a communist regime, I think talking podcasts or talking politics at every corner, every fucking, oh, Jesus. Dude, maybe I should let myself wake up before I do this. No, I don't. I'm not even going to second guess myself. That's what you need nowadays, is just blind fucking confidence. Even if what you're saying is complete horseshit, part of the thing in show business and all business, even the presidency, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter if what you say is true. It doesn't matter if the results are good. You just have to act like what you're doing is correct. And people do not have the comprehension skills or critical thinking skills or even desire to see if it's bullshit or not. And they won't question it. So I'm just going to act like this podcast fucking rocks and I have 1 million followers, you know, and I'm the best there ever was. And some people will buy into that. They will. They'll say you have so much charisma. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you talked about politics because you told me to be glad about it, you know? That's what you fucking did. Okay. Yeah, that's what they used to say. They used to say the United States, every time a Democrat's in office, they go on about how they're like communists and that school system is left communist. It's so wild to me because, like, the United States has never, ever been close to, like, even remotely close to being a communist country. The fact that I'm making $19 an hour in Austin, Texas, and I can barely afford to pay my rent and the cost of everything just keeps going up would probably indicate that this is not a communist situation. It's not even fucking close. And it never has been. It's never going to happen, people. They was like go on about how like Russian communists have infiltrated the university system to try to make everybody communist. And they were started in like the late 60s. And it's like, you think fucking by now it would have worked. I don't meet any communists over the age of 25. As soon as you get a paycheck, you're not a fucking communist anymore. As soon as you have to pay your rent or you make some money and they snatch that from you, your brain immediately goes to how the fuck do I keep this and not share it with anybody? Because I don't have enough to share. And the people that have enough to share act like they're one of us, you know, and then they try to act like they could never spare $1 million here or there to maybe keep PBS running. It's fucking crazy. How do people listen to that shit? How do you listen to it? I don't know. How do you talk about it, Alex? How do you sit here and pompously rant with no facts and then criticize people for ranting with also no facts? How do you justify sitting here and doing exactly what you're upset about? I don't know. I don't know what I'm fucking doing. Listen, if the most communist thing about this podcast is that it's free, there's no advertisers, you know. There's only 14 people in their basements probably listening to this. 14 nerds. You know, the other day at Tom's I was bombing, and they do an internet live stream. Apparently, the nerds on the internet live stream thought I killed it. They loved me. But alas, they were not in the crowd. Who was in the crowd was people with their arms folded, frowning at me. You know, I think it's about time for conservatives to start letting people make jokes about them. How about that? We're getting into this thing where the left wing and the right wing, in their views of comedy, are completely they're just starting to flip. My prediction is that soon conservatives will be trying to silence and cancel people, and liberals will be on a kick of like, I can't fucking say anything. Comedy used to be so edgy, and now it's not edgy anymore. And you just get to watch people go back and forth, you know, and just watch the pendulum swing. And you start to realize that this thing, a lot of people's opinions are just based off of reactionary feeling, as in like they just don't want the other side to win, and something pisses them off, so they react in a certain way and then try to rationalize it. No one really comes out of the gate and out of their homes anymore with principles. Like, hey, a principle would be it's a comedy show. You know, anything goes as long as somebody's trying to be funny. You know, maybe don't bitch about it in the comments section online or get my panties in a wad. And that would go for liberals and Republicans. If everybody just had that idea, it would apply across the board. But that's not what happens. It just flip-flops. Like, I have this joke about Greg Abbott's legs, how he doesn't have any legs and a tree hit him on the head. And what's really funny about that bit is it's not the initial shock value of joking about it. It is watching conservatives get all pissy because suddenly people in wheelchairs need to be like protected, and then watching woke like liberal people clap and be like, fuck that crippled piece of shit. It's just completely, it's the most hypocritical response you could have to anything. It's hilarious, dude. It's so funny to watch. It doesn't matter. There's no There's no real political parties. There's just assholes trying to get their way and doing whatever they can to get their way. There's no like ethics discussion about the Constitution. 4 years ago, free speech was about to get just completely dismantled. They were like, how the fuck can we get Joe Rogan to never speak again? And now free speech is getting literally pissed on by the Trump administration. They're trying to like keep Bruce Springsteen out of the country just for criticizing the guy. And this is what Americans have to live with, is just a complete lack of principles and integrity. And isn't this a fun podcast? Isn't this hilarious? Isn't this a good time to listen to me do this by myself? Semi-hungover, pouring sweat now, outside. Isn't this a good time? I should probably take notes for the next... I say that every week. I don't really want to take notes. I do know why I bombed last night. I just wasn't in the right mood for it. The beautiful thing about comedy is sometimes it sucks. What I mean sometimes, I mean kind of like 80% of the time, it's like you kind of leave your set being like, what the I don't know. Rarely have I been up there and been like, wow, this is amazing. But the times it is amazing, you really do feel like the greatest artist and the greatest creator of all time. You really feel like you left people with something special. So I think it is worth it in the long run. But I don't know how to really do comedy well for people who like lighthearted, kind of small talk types of like comedy acts. I'd rather talk about shit that people don't want to talk about. I kind of felt like as a comic, that was my job entirely. Is to be like, you came here so we can do something different. This is like a comedy show. We can kind of get out some of these things that maybe we've been holding inside of us, or things we can't admit about ourselves, or, we can finally say things we want to say, like make fun of the current administration, laugh at some of the errors that have happened to us in our lives, the shitty things about ourselves. And some people don't want that at all. Some people come to a comedy show and they really want you to treat it like you're just goofing with them at the water cooler at work and HR is like still in the room. So they don't really want you to open up really much about anything. And it's usually the people that feel this way are, I'd say they're like really hot people. Hot people don't want anything to be disturbed. I found that's the reason a lot of like left-wing people are so butt fucking ugly, is because you gotta want a really ugly person wants to change things, because they're not in America. They're not getting it. They're not getting theirs. Really basement dwelling. Every revolution starts from people in a basement. Somebody that's not having a good time and getting laid, they're going to look out and criticize the system and be like, how can we change this? That's actually how the Nazis started. If you read like history books, I think it was a group of like 10 guys in a basement, and they weren't even, like, they didn't have anything to do with Adolf Hitler, but they asked him to come into their group because he was so good at speaking. And Hitler really didn't have any other skills. It was kind of interesting, actually. But they drafted him to this group of like 10 guys in a basement. So it wasn't even Hitler's philosophy. And then when Hitler got in power, those guys wanted to also make decisions, and Hitler just had all of them killed. So he was the basement dweller of the basement dwellers. He sort of did a revolution inside a revolutionary group and kind of sent these people on their way, I guess is a light way to put shooting them in the back of the head in the middle of a courthouse or wherever he shot them, behind the courthouse. Yeah, I think, most revolutions are started by super unhappy people And a lot of that is ugly people, you know? And ugly people with not great jobs. I mean, if you look at January 6th, there were no models. There were no models at the White House on January 6th. It was all like kind of out of shape, overweight, uggos. Everybody who was hot was at home being like, we don't have to change anything because I'm getting laid right now and I have a lot of money. Yeah, so most of the people, I would say that. I feel like that's a fair statement. Whether or not, whatever else you want to believe about the situation, I don't think any hot people were there. What is funny, too, about January 6th is I kind of, dude, like I watch some of the videos online, and this is how black people get like a bad rap, is like most of the videos online are like not super flattering about you guys unless it involves the NBA or like a rapper or something like that, or entertainment. But like there are like a lot of videos that almost feel like propaganda at this point of like really like poor black people flipping out in a McDonald's or like a Waffle House. And you could see the comments underneath, people just being like, this is their culture. And it's like, that's not really, first off, that's not fair. And second off, if you're white and you're also a Republican and you're like pro January 6th, you can't really criticize somebody for trying to like barnstorm a Waffle House. Because what was January 6th if not like the ultimate Waffle House freak out? That was like a bunch of people. They ordered French fries. They got a salad instead. They felt like they got the wrong order, and they went to the White House and just flipped the fucking cash register and tried to beat the shit out of the manager. And they had all those employees on the front lines going gung-ho about this. Going gung-ho about it. I don't even know if this podcast is making sense. I don't really give a shit, man. Let's go. I took a little tangent there, a 30-minute tangent. Let's go back to top 5 things from childhood. Okay, so we got one of them was PBS. Another thing is those vending machines, the small vending machines for $0.25 with tattoos and gumball. I guess they're just called gumball machines. We got to do 3 more things. Thing 3 has got to be a sleepover at somebody's house where the parents kind of give a fuck, don't give a fuck less. They don't give a fuck. They give a fuck less than your parents. And it doesn't matter but how much less of a fuck they give, but you can kind of feel it when you could always kind of feel it when you got over there and the parents gave less of a fuck. You know what I mean? You go there and it'd be dinner time, nothing to be really worked on at all. They just pull out like a 2-liter of soda and like a cinnamon roll for breakfast. Maybe like 1 piece of cheese, like American cheese. And you're like, dude, this rocks. You guys, later on, I'm going to feel kind of weird about this because I'm going to be like, maybe you should have watched us more. But right now, this is like legit. I'm up at 3 in the morning. I've broken a couple things in the house. I farted on one of my friends' faces. You know, I'm making a lot of noise. And you guys don't really seem to give a fuck in the slightest. This is amazing. So number 3, sleepovers where the parents give a fuck a little bit less than your parents. That's always great. Number 4, I would say throwing video games in there. Let's go further than video games. Let's say being alive in a time where kids were allowed outside to do whatever they wanted. That was amazing. I miss that. I tried to sell solar panels one time, like door to door, and I quit after 2 days because I was really bad at it. One thing I noticed is you go through the neighborhoods now and it's just empty. Nobody's outside. It's tragic. Everybody has a Ring doorbell. They're super paranoid. It's almost better to live in the hood. You get more like social interaction. Like I live in kind of a shitty apartment complex, And everybody in my apartment complex is outside because the apartments are just shitty and full of mold. So, like, people are outside at my place. They're grilling out. Kids are out. You know, it feels more like the real thing, you know? Some of that has to do with everybody here is a Latino immigrant from Mexico or somewhere else. I mean, they still let their kids do whatever. They are not watching these fuckers. I mean, these little fuckers are all over. You'll be driving through the parking lot. They will just run in front of your car like a squirrel or a deer or something. You know, you gotta stop your car so you don't hit them and go to jail. That'd be pretty bad. Yeah, 4, playing outside. Really getting kicked outside. That's what my parents used to do. They'd be like, come back when the street lights turn on. And I couldn't go back inside, even to get, like, water. They would, like, bring the water outside. What a luxury, man. What a luxury as a parent, too. To be able to just, like, legally be allowed to be like, just go away. I don't know. I don't care if you get hurt. Just go away. Go with friends. If one of you gets kidnapped or, like, molested, somebody else will tell us, and we'll figure it out. I want to clean the house right now, so take a risk. Go climb in a tree 200 feet tall, you know? Go get up there. Go break a leg. Be fun. I'm going to do that. All right, we got to do 5. 5. What's a good number 5? Best things from childhood. I would say right now, number 5 is always tough because there's a bunch of different things that can always go into number 5 spot. You don't want to leave anything out, and you want every nice thing to get a chance. Let's go with eating whatever you want. That's always going to be a childhood classic. Literally being like, what do you want for lunch? A bunch of popsicles and goldfish. Really just eating whatever. And I kind of hope RFK doesn't kill that. I kind of hope this administration, you're making it political again. Yeah, but they're like, they exist and they're really going for it this time. This isn't like a political party of people who want to just keep the status quo going. You know, they want to get rid of all the unhealthy foods. And it's like, let kids enjoy some shitty food, man. They'll burn it off. Won't fuck them up that bad. You know? Maybe make the school lunches nice. But, like, dude, if you're at the pool, like, there's nothing better than a popsicle that's basically just frozen sugar and chemicals. What were those popsicles that came in, like, the plastic bags? They, like, you could, like, break them in half. They were, like, long plastic tubes that were, like, just pressed. And you could either, like, chew them out of the thing or wait for them to melt. Those things were the shit. They were so good. And then you'd eat them and just spaz on your friends at the pool playing, like, water basketball or whatever. Those were good times, man. I hope this current administration isn't so afraid of autism. They're so afraid of autism. I hope they're not so afraid of it that they won't let kids eat popsicles anymore, man. What would be funny is if they ban all this shit up in, like, the food marketing thing and the whole, what is it? I don't even know what it is. What do I call it? The food economy? They just upend the entire food economy to get rid of autism and people are still autistic. That would be so funny. And it's such a waste of money and time. Then we'd all have to be like, hey, can I enjoy Eggo waffles again? Can I eat a fish stick? Can we have the ketchup back, please? Because nothing fucking was fixed. Yeah. All right, well, what are we going to rate this podcast? I'm going to go a 3. No, I'm not doing that. This podcast was amazing. It was a 5 out of 5. It was the greatest podcast I've ever done. I've never done anything better, and next week is going to be even better than that, and it's going to be the funniest thing you've ever listened to. And everything I said on it is true. Can you believe that? Everything I said on this podcast is true, and you should and will like and subscribe to it because I said so, and because it's 2025, baby. It's the season of just saying what you're doing is right and just saying that you're correct with absolutely no information to back yourself up. That's what it's about, baby. This is America. This is about going out, wrecking your car, and blaming the other person. That's what 2025 is about. No insurance, gaslighting the fuck out of them, eating fast food and telling yourself that it's healthy, eating healthy food and telling yourself that you're fat. That's what it's about. Going to a comedy show, bombing, and just being like, I'm good at this. That's the time that we're in. Complete cognitive dissonance. There was a golden age of industry, a golden age of art. This is the golden age of lying to people's faces and just acting like it's the truth. It's a golden age of bullshit. And so, that being said, listen, this podcast rocked. You're going to listen to the next one. You enjoyed it, and you're going to share it with your friends, all right? Take it easy, people.